Some life forms, including us, use a survival mechanism which essentially boils down to sensing the environment, but using those senses to simulate a model of the environment. Now, the life form's probability of survival is how adapted it is to its environment. If it's adapted to its environment sufficiently well, its probability of survival goes up. If not, it goes down. And so the ability to simulate the environment inside the mind, i.e. imagine, is quite a valid survival mechanism. When I interact with my environment, I change my environment. So therefore, to fully simulate the environment, I have to understand my effect on the environment. In order to fully simulate that, I have to simulate myself. The moment I start simulating myself, I have consciousness. My ability to simulate my environment is also my ability to be conscious of myself. Now, in terms of this simulation, the sensory input to build this simulation informs the simulation. If you didn't have any sensory input, the simulation you would build would not be very close to the environment. And so we have various different senses. Some of these senses, the obvious senses, are external senses. We see, we hear, we taste, we touch, we smell. But we also have internal senses. These senses give us an idea of what's going on in our body and what's going on in our mind. In fact, every time you have a thought, that is an internal sense of an electrical pattern taking place inside your brain. And all this sensory input goes into your development of your model, which includes yourself. And this model is not the environment, it's a simulation of the environment. But it's obvious that we are part of the environment. We're made of the same stuff. We are an animal. But going back to consciousness, all this sensory input and our ability to simulate a model goes together to create not just awareness of one's surroundings. I'm in a car park, next to a park, with some trees, next to a road, with some houses. Not just the surroundings, an awareness of the surroundings, but also an awareness of the self. So consciousness is not part of the brain, in a sense. There is no part of your brain which can be attributed to consciousness. And if you lost it, then you wouldn't have consciousness anymore. Sure, you can lose consciousness with enough brain damage. But what I'm saying is, if you're looking for an area of the brain that relates to consciousness, it's exactly the same area of the brain that relates to perception of the environment and processing information from the senses. And so I don't think you can disentangle the sense of self from the sense of everything else. So I think I've explained consciousness.